We are not getting a divorce.
We are not getting a divorce.
We are not getting a divorce.
Wait for it. Divorce.
Other topics and stuff.
Yeah. Hi. Welcome to another exciting episode of the SUPERDIVORCE SUPERCAST. I'm Nicholas Villars, and I'm the vocalist in this band. And to my right is
Robert Tallman Jr., guitarist.
Hi, Bob.
How's it going?
Pretty good. This is wow.
Is this the first time we've ever done it, just me and you, or is this? I think we've done it one other time.
We did it one other time, and it was a disaster. It was the it wasn't this show. It was the I Love Sleep Star show.
Okay,
and it was the one where we just talked about the Illuminati the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Well, so that's what happens when we don't get checked by anyone else. Who knows?
Who knows what's going to happen on this?
We'll try and stay, because we can do the video show now, and that's like more free form.
Right.
So we'll try to hang in there.
Yeah.
And do the Lord's work while everyone else is gone. It's a late night show tonight.
Yeah,
actually.
We're laying it down with very little time to spare before tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
And we're getting it. We're getting in there right around Tonight Show time.
Yeah, right.
This is when Jay used to take the stage.
Yeah, and hopefully one day he'll get his show back and take the stage again. So there's a group of us out there who are holding fast that Jay will come back and reclaim the Tonight Show, which was so wrongfully taken away from him by Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Who I'm sure is a nice guy, but when you want to watch the Tonight Show, who do you want to be hosting?
I want to see Jay
Leno.
Because it's his show.
Yep.
He's the rightful owner.
It always has been his show, too.
And
as far as I know.
It was stolen by Jimmy. I would call him Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Because he stole the show away from him. That's definitely a felony.
Right. Yeah, and Jay can only do so much. I mean, the show was stolen from him once by Conan O'Brien, and he valiantly fought and got his show right back. But
he wasn't having any of that 10 o'clock variety show that they tried to stick him with.
What a joke.
That's not the real deal.
Yeah, that's not the real Jay.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It
was Jay, and there was a Kevin Eubanks there. There was Kevin Eubanks, but it just didn't sit right with me.
When you take away that time slot, when you take away that iconic set, it just goes to hell.
And the name. I mean, the Jay Leno Show.
No. It's the
Tonight Show
with Jay Leno.
With Jay Leno and the Tonight Show band, Kevin Eubanks.
And the Tonight Show band.
Yep. Not the fucking Roots.
No. Come on. I'm not rooting for them.
Yeah.
So we like to start off with a little news about the band. Earlier this evening, we did receive some news about our mixes for this album that we recorded back in October.
Yes.
And our engineer, mixer, Kirby, told us some good news.
Yeah.
Right? You read the message. I didn't actually see it yet.
He said he would have mixes of the final 5 songs by the end of this week, and then they would just need little tweaks to get them nudged into the place where we want them, and then I'd imagine we'll schedule a day when we all go in and just put the absolute finishing touches on everything. And
now, you said the last or the final 5 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people out there might be caught off guard because they're used to 5 songs total.
Yes.
When we said 5 songs in reference to the last 5 songs, that means that there were a first 5 songs as well.
Yes, it implies that there were.
And, of course, this will be a full-length album. It's 10 songs total.
Yes.
The previous 5 and then the final 5
that
we're waiting on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no EP crap this time.
Right. This is going to be a full-length album with a good hour and a half to 2 hours of music. We haven't landed on how long the intro song is going to be. It's going to be either we're torn in two right now. It's a 4-person group,
Right.
so we stalemate on a lot of things, and a lot of things stagnate in our
Well, one of my
internal
ideas-
democracy.
I actually haven't brought this to the group yet, so I hope it's okay if I throw it out here on the podcast for all of our many listeners to hear as well. My idea was to take clips of all the shows that we've done and to throw them into the songs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So maybe after 10 seconds into the first track, there's a pause of about a minute and a half segment of something from one of the shows that we've done.
Right, so you're not even thinking little soundbite, like early 2000s fad, where they put a little line from a movie in and then hit a
I'm talking about
breakdown or something.
Well, it's like an advertisement for this show.
Okay.
So they buy the album, and then they can listen to the whole song, but they have to listen to pieces of this show as well as they go along.
Right, just
There's
to
no-
drive the point home that the podcast is the more important piece of media that we're putting out there.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe every 10 seconds. That might be a little too long to go without...
Yeah. It wouldn't quite drive the point home either. You want a good, strong minute and a half segment to really get... to really whet the appetite of the listener for the podcast.
I meant going 10 seconds of music without
a
minute or so of the podcast would be a little long to let the music play without one of the podcast segments cutting in.
Yeah, that could be negotiable. I could go around 7.5 seconds.
I was thinking even 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds.
Every 5 seconds, there's a minute and a half segment of the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
A minute and a half to 2 minutes. If it's a really good segment, maybe we can throw in like a 5-minute chunk here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe a 5-minute segment in between songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. We could just use pieces of the songs to introduce the segments. Sort of like the Bob and Tom show, how they have the little riff that plays.
Yeah.
And it's a diddle-oo, diddle-diddle-oo,
Diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle.
Yeah. And then we hit a little segment, and then you get another soundbite of one of the songs. So we just flip the script.
Right.
So instead of doing sound bites of talking, it's sound bites of music inserted into a podcast format on a CD, a 10-track compact disc. So,
and it would keep you busy for a while.
Yeah,
you would definitely get your money's worth on an album like that.
It might end up being. I mean, the album itself will at least be 2 to 3 discs, and now with this idea, we might be pushing into 6-disc collector's set.
Yeah,
type
full box
territory.
set.
Yeah,
right.
With full artwork, behind the scenes footage, live performances of the podcast. None of it will be the music,
right?
But we'll put all the podcast extras on there, and if you want to hear the music, you can find another band to follow, because
everyone does that.
Yeah.
So
we're the podcast band. So.
Yeah.
Podcast first, band second.
And any other bands out there who decide to jump on this bandwagon, you can remember the first band to do it, and that's, of course, us.
It's on record. We'll have the date.
Literally, it'll be on record.
Yes.
We're going to have records available that you can purchase with the podcast on them.
Yes.
The idea is to eventually expand until we are producing a vinyl copy of every show that we do that will be on sale
Hundreds
immediately.
of copies of each vinyl, too.
Right.
We won't even wait to put multiple casts on one vinyl. It'll be one podcast per vinyl.
Yeah, and so you'll do half on side A and half on side B.
Yep. And I'd imagine some of that might spill over onto a second vinyl record, too.
It might.
You'd have 2 record sets of one podcast.
And then I think we can do the video show on VHS tapes and offer that as well.
Because really, digital media is just...
Well, it's going out.
Yeah, it's on the way out. Vinyl records are coming back.
1 foot out the door already for digital media. So we are welcoming... Not only are we welcoming, we are I would like to consider us the harbingers of
the return to analog.
Return to analog.
Yeah.
So you can think of us in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And
the next thing we need to do is to get video games back on DOSBox.
Yeah.
I think that's good. And then eventually find a way to make video games on vinyl records.
Well, that's the ultimate goal.
Right. But at least taking that step back
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. It was about backtracking.
Yes.
And finding what the best way was. And of course,
I think what you could do is melt down an old NES cartridge and have it pressed into a record.
And it would still have all the music intact.
Yes.
You would hear that as long as you melted down that original cartridge.
Right.
The record it became would play the sounds from the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, I'm
record player would have an AV out that would go to your TV, and
yeah,
you would see the game projected onto a screen.
I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
Yeah.
And speaking of video game music, why don't we go right into the artist Searchlight for this week?
All right.
And why don't you take it, because I don't have anything right now. So.
Well, if we're doing the format that we usually do, we'll each pick an artist and have to talk about the other person's pick. So
I just literally had nothing in the brain right there, so it's blank.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and my artist Searchlight is going to be Josh Groban. So if you want to tell us a little bit about him, and then you can make your pick, and I'll expound upon.
And my pick for you is I'm going to go with John Tesh.
Okay.
A famous pianist.
Okay.
So, would you like me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I know a lot about John Tesh, so.
Okay. So, Josh Groban. I'm going to shoot straight on this one. I'm going to give people the real deal, the real down low and the skinny.
Real deal Holyfield.
Yeah. Exactly. Because we're entering into a holy field here.
Yeah, field of holiness.
And the reason I say that is because Josh Groban does a lot of Christmas music.
Yes.
He's a big Christmas time guy, and I just saw that I believe he's announced a tour for 2016.
Okay.
And you can get your concert tickets now. I hear they sell out pretty quickly. And while I don't listen to Josh Groban, I can understand he doesn't seem like the type of artist who really travels a lot.
Right.
He probably doesn't need to. Mm-hmm. He's a big major label player. He probably makes a lot off of his record sales because he's got that built-in audience that just loves him.
Yeah.
You know the types. You can imagine.
Suburban moms. They think he's dreamy.
Mm-hmm. He plays a good tune on the piano, and he's also got a nice, strong singing voice.
You think they could have cast Josh Groban as Kylo Ren?
Maybe. They could have cast him as Kylo Ren, but I don't know how the movie would have turned out.
They should have, if they ever make a Star Wars musical, he's my number one pick.
For Kylo Ren?
For Kylo. Because he's got a damn strong voice. He's got the locks, the curly locks,
He might be able to put his voice in a place where he makes himself a little scary.
Yeah,
he could probably boom it and really get a point across to you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a child on his bad side.
No.
If Josh Groban were my father and he had to yell at me.
He's still got his tonsils, for sure.
Yeah.
And
he's probably doing a lot of vocal training.
Yeah.
I don't listen to Josh Groban. I don't particularly care for him. But I will say he's very successful.
You did shoot straight on that. I was expecting a lot of just kind of, making things up, basically.
You would expect that, but the only reason I didn't, and I haven't gotten to it, I'm going to get to it right now. The reason I decided to shoot straight is because of the segment that he did on the Tim and Eric Awesome Show.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to say, I respect his work on Tim and Eric Awesome Show. It's Josh Groban does Casey and his brothers songs.
Yeah.
I want to live in a choo-choo train. I want to ride across the USA.
Yeah.
And
he does a great job, and he looks so happy when he's playing it.
I think he probably is the kind of guy who would like that show and probably watches it.
And because
that's probably
he did
how
that,
they got him.
Well, I bet, the fact that he did that, to me, it shows me that he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Right, yeah.
And he probably understands who his fan base is, and that it's not necessarily cool to like Josh Groban.
Yeah. They're not selling his merch at Hot Topic or anything, yeah.
But
it pays the bills for him.
It does.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a Josh Groban t-shirt in Hot Topic just for that.
Right, the
that novelty,
yeah,
for the laughs.
I wonder what kind of music he genuinely listens to in his everyday life. And whether he was raised on that kind of operatic style where, big booming vibrato singers, or if he's just like he likes Bowie and, new wave, like rock music from the 80s.
He might.
I think he's probably got more of a contemporary taste, but his actual vocal chops are made more for this style that he does. But I think he probably isn't popping in music like that and bumping it down the road.
I don't think he's playing his own tracks when I don't think he's listening to like Bublé exclusively. Or
they always get brought up in the same conversations.
Yeah.
I think Bublé is kind of a prick, though.
Do you?
Yeah, I could... Josh Groban, Bublé needs to do something like that Tim and Eric thing to win me over.
Well, I saw Bublé do a great thing with someone at one of his shows.
Okay.
It was you know what? And it escapes me. I can't tell you what it was, but I remember seeing a video several years ago, and after I watched it, I remember thinking, I kind of like Michael Bublé now.
Okay.
But I can't remember what exactly it was that he did, but it was something I would not have expected from him. So I'll have to go back and check that out. Maybe you can too. Yeah. And maybe your opinion of Michael Bublé will change.
Yeah.
And
I remember when my opinion of John Mayer changed like that. Because he's such a... His music on the radio and everything was so shitty.
Yeah.
Your body is a wonderland and all that stuff. And then you find out he's just kind of an immature, funny guy. You know, they put him in segments on late night shows and he walks around the streets cracking jokes and you're like, John Mayer's pretty cool. So maybe Michael Bublé is cool, but his music sucks.
I feel like he should go on tour with Robert Goulet.
Bublé and Goulet.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Robert Goulet is dead.
Oh, did he die?
Yeah.
I didn't know he passed on.
He passed away.
Well,
I'm starting to question it now. Now that I said it, but I'm pretty sure he's dead.
It's not that I don't believe you.
I would say I'm 94% sure that Robert Goulet is dead.
I don't remember hearing about it, but I guess that's Goulet.
Since
he's
we
one
don't
celebrity who might just kind of pass under the radar when
he's not that big of a deal, I guess.
Not these days.
No.
At
one point.
Yeah, but he hadn't been in the news for so long.
I loved him in Naked Gun 2.5.
And Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Goulet and Beetlejuice too.
That's what I know him from.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew him from Naked Gun 2.5. I had no idea he was a singer or anything. I just knew him from that movie. It's like, when you're a kid, you're ignorant to everything that happened before because he didn't exist.
Yeah.
So.
And he was at one of the WrestleManias. I don't remember which one. One of the early WrestleManias, he was there.
Did he sing the national anthem or something? Or
I feel like maybe it was
crowd?
In Canada.
Okay.
And
is he Canadian?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, I didn't know.
Goulet,
yeah.
French Canadian. Yeah. So that's the wrap up there. I'm going to end it there on Groban and just say that I'll give him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And
out of 10, where would you rate him? Considering everything, music, personality, just what would you rate Josh Groban out of 10?
8.
8?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Tim and Eric segment really boosts him up.
If that wouldn't have happened,
he'd be sitting at a solid 3 or 4. Probably.
I was going to say 4 without the Tim and Eric.
Because he seems like a nice enough guy,
yeah.
even without that. But showing that you have a sense of humor is a great way
plus,
to up your value, I guess.
So let's hear about John Tesh.
Remember when I said I knew a lot about him?
Mm-hmm.
I was lying. I've heard the name John Tesh. For some reason, if you asked me who John Tesh was, I would say he's an actor. I don't know John Tesh as a musician. It's an interesting name.
Well, as you'll recall last week,
when Dale didn't know who John Williams was.
So why don't you take about 5 minutes and tell me what you think of John Tesh?
Well, here's my issue with John Tesh, okay?
Okay.
When he first burst on the scene, it was sort of like a Beatlemania situation.
Yeah.
He'd been overseas for a very long time, and we were just clamoring to have him here in the States. And when he finally did come over, it was pandemonium.
Yeah.
Or, as they called it, it was Tesh-amonium. So, John Tesh, he had a string of #1 hits, he was in his late teens at the time when he first came to America from the UK. And it's surprising because at the time he came over in the early 80s, when he was 19, he played, he's a pianist, right? You said, you gave that away.
Yeah. Right.
But he was able to take his piano and sing songs over his piano playing that convince you that an entire band is playing.
Right.
He plays his piano in a very percussive way and a very melodic way at the same time, to where you're not missing a drummer or a guitar player.
Yeah, he's just a wild man.
Yeah, he hits everything that you need to hit with one instrument.
Yeah.
And then when he lays his vocals on top, he's got catchy radio hits, he's got ballads, he's got, he can even get dark and a little bit, existential at times. But really, all of his music has a lot of heart. Yeah. It has a lot of soul. And it really resonated with a lot of people. Where he went off the rails is when he started getting really political with his message.
Yeah.
He's a...
Which election was that?
I think that was 92.
Okay.
He was pushing for a second term for George H.W. Bush. And I remember he had that song, it was like, Let the Quails Fly. Because he, even more so than George H.W. Bush, he really loved Dan Quayle. So he wrote the campaign song for the 92 election for the Republican side. And as you know, I'm more of a liberal-leaning person, so... When I found out that John Tesh was a staunch conservative and made several appearances on many different conservative talk shows, denouncing, separation of church and state, wanted Christianity brought into the schools, rather than being cast out, and also demanded that the 10 Commandments be posted not just in front of all government buildings, but all over the walls on the inside.
Like a big mural.
Yes.
Throughout the entire facility.
Not only a big mural, but in every office you'd have to have it posted on your wall, in some kind of one form or another, a plaque, a painting, some kind of an idol of some type.
And everyone would wear a badge with the 10 Commandments on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
hanging off of their neck.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, every 10 feet or so, you'd have to have something representing the 10 Commandments in a government
Well, the badge
building.
was cool at least because it added an 11th commandment, right? And it just said, "Thou shalt call me," and then it had a little blank where you could write your name.
Right.
Yeah.
So thou shalt call me, and then your first name, or even your nickname if
Right.
you wanted to get a little playful with it.
Yeah, which I thought
So-
was at least kind of cool.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, not a bad idea to have, a cutesy little name tag thing, but, to me, separation of church and state is a big part of what this country's founded upon. So John Tesh's conservative neo-Christian bullshit is not going to fly with me. Also, something about, when he first came over, he had a nice full head of hair, and then he lost it. And I can't trust a guy who loses his hair, so, because that just means something's wrong with you, so.
And since the hair loss has been downhill, right? There's
Yeah,
not much going on.
his music has suffered. I don't think he's put out an album in over a decade.
Is he touring anymore?
I don't believe so.
No
I
touring.
think he's sort of isolated at this point. He's become so radical in his views that
He has
very
that conservative blog
right.
that has quite a few followers.
Yeah, he calls it Tesh.0. It's a play on. It's a play on Tosh.0, obviously, but with sort of a conservative message. So.
Well, how about the big reveal here? Okay. I'm just going to pull up a picture of John Tesh, and then we'll maybe play a cut. All right, here we go. Here's John Tesh. And Bob's just checking out some pictures of John Tesh here.
He looks kind of like Jesse Ventura a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Especially in this picture right here. You guys
this
can't
must
see
be a
it,
newer picture because he looks a little more weathered here.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like a 2000. I can actually probably search for John Tesh.
John Tesh 2015.
I noticed that if you type in a celebrity on Google, usually it'll have the year next to it because a lot of people want to know what the celebrity looks like now.
Yeah.
So here's John Tesh 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, a little bit of aging has gone on.
He's got a nice head of wispy blonde hair. Doesn't look like he's lost all of it. It may be thinning a bit, but there's a picture of him with nice feathered 80s hair. It looks photoshopped though, so yeah.
Okay. Why don't we hear a cut? It's just I'm gonna get rid of this.
There's a signs your child is being bullied. John Tesh. She's like the wind.
I was looking for a live. How about this original? Would this be God of Wonders by John Tesh?
All right.
So we're just gonna pull this up here. I'm gonna skip the ads, which is a hefty ad. Let's.
Playtime. They'd look something like this.
Yeah, there's a hefty bag. All right.
Yeah, hefty
Here we go.
bag ad there.
Here's little John Tesh. So that's a good drum beat.
Yeah. This is all coming from his piano.
Yeah. He's banging his hands. He just lit up. He lit up the radio waves when he first came over. He was just
Is
lighting
he
them
a
on
Christian
fire.
artist?
No, not exclusively.
Oh, okay. What is he known for?
Well, he started.
How do you know who he is?
I'm surprised. He has to have been mentioned on Family Guy at least once. He is the perfect Family Guy celebrity.
Probably.
And I'm not, I haven't seen
He probably was mentioned, but the reference probably went over my head because I'm not up to snuff on who John Tesh is.
I don't see anything when I search for John Tesh Family
no.
Guy. He started out...
Was he big in the 80s artist, I guess?
No, he was on, what show was it? Was it Inside Edition? He was the host of some TV show. It was like it was a talk show of some sort where they like recapped various news of the day.
Okay. One-on-one with John Tesh.
No, that was not it. Let's see. Maybe his wiki has to have it here.
Okay. We're using podcast time right now for the benefit of our listeners to figure out.
It was Entertainment Tonight.
Okay.
That's what it was. Yeah. He was the host of Entertainment Tonight.
Why is he a musician now? That's just what he does, or?
I don't know.
Or was he a musician before he hosted Entertainment Tonight?
I-
Sort of
you
like
know
what
what?
happened with the lead singer of Sugar Ray, Mark
McGrath.
Mark McGrath.
Well, you know what? I kind of just broke a rule because we're not supposed to Google things while we're talking here on the show.
That's right.
So I got off of that.
Okay.
The only thing we're going to look up there is that he was on Entertainment Tonight.
Okay.
And I think it was O'Reilly who was on Inside Edition.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, maybe John Tesh is just like a liberal Bill O'Reilly then.
I
don't know if
would
he's
like to
liberal,
see
but-
Tesh get back into TV and do Tesh.0. Because I think that would be a real hit.
Conservative blog. Tesh.0.
All right. Well, let's move on from Tesh talk there and head on over to TT Boys because
Yeah.
we can still do
We'll
a
kinda-
two-man TT Boy.
We'll kind of shop that around and see if Tesh Talk will become a segment, a regular segment on the show.
Yeah.
We'll have to kick that idea around.
Your weekly
See what he's up to.
dose of Tesh. Oh boy. Okay. Trending right now. Number 1, WWE MSG. WWE holds special event at Madison Square Garden.
I had not heard about that, and we're pretty up to snuff on our wrestling stuff. So.
Yeah. Is it going on, or I guess was going on earlier this evening?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Must have been.
I don't even know what that was.
Yeah, I don't know either. It must be kind of like one of those King of the Ring things, or like one of those one-off, not quite a pay-per-view, but not a Raw.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like the Beast in the East thing.
Yeah.
But at Madison Square Garden. So.
No, I don't know.
I don't know either. I hope I find out more about it in the coming days or weeks.
The Big Apple. It's
Yeah.
a big venue.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden, that's where it all started. That's the home of what was once World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of famous matches have happened there. I just
Yeah.
watched WrestleMania 10 recently, and or rewatched it, of course. The Owen Hart versus Bret Hart match is just a classic if you've never seen that one.
I will have to check it out.
Yeah.
And it takes place at MSG.
Yeah.
Okay.
WrestleMania 10, same event where you got to see the first ladder match. With
Oh, okay. With
Shawn and Razor.
Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon.
Mm-hmm.
The very first ladder match
Yep.
in WWF.
Yep.
I know
Yeah.
that ladders were used in wrestling before that. but
Right.
Mostly as weapons. Yeah.
All right. Well, how about Mark Jackson? ABC commentator says Stephen Curry, or Steph, as people call him, Steph Curry, is hurting the game of basketball.
Really? Didn't Mark Jackson coach the Golden State Warriors at one point? I thought he did.
I'm
I
wondering
could be
how
wrong on this.
he would say that Steph Curry's hurting the game of basketball because he's like become. I would say at this point people consider him kind of the top of the pack there, leader of the pack,
one of the best.
I think that in a lot of people's minds he's overtaken LeBron even as like the one guy you would probably want on your team right now.
Yeah. I don't know how that would be hurting the game of basketball. I don't know Steph Curry. I don't know his personality at all. I don't know if it has to do with that. It can't have to do with his play. I mean,
no, I wouldn't think so.
In keeping in the rules with the show, I will not Google this, but I'm intrigued enough to look into this further in my personal life.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have a friend who hates the fact that Steph Curry is always sort of popping his mouthpiece out and chewing on it.
Jason.
Yeah. So, maybe that's what he's talking about.
Maybe he's hurting the game of basketball by chewing on his mouthpiece too much, and it just it's unprofessional for the game, and it
presents a bad image.
Yeah, gives people the wrong idea.
You don't want kids playing to be popping their mouthpieces out during games, and
then you take a little bop to the head, and your mouthpiece isn't where it needs to be, and
your teeth are gone.
Yep.
Because you got elbowed.
Not to mention you've got a concussion, you've got you've got tons of different problems going on. So
alright, well, very well. Right here. Okay. Why don't you take it?
Okay. Alright, the next TT Boys topic, which I encourage Nick to click here, because there's quite a few trending topics, and we don't always hit every single one of them. But Peyton Manning, NFL quarterback, used human growth hormone during 2011 recovery, which was the year that he had all those neck surgeries. So, what do you think about that?
Well, we've talked about HGH and steroids and sports before, and my opinion is that I really don't care.
Yeah.
I think that the athletes should be allowed to take whatever they want to continue performing at their best possible level for as long as they want. Yeah. Because ultimately it's their life, their body. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're at a point now where sort of wagging the finger at people for doing that kind of thing is just going to make them sort of find a way around whatever the current rules say they're not allowed to do.
Yeah,
and that's what creative.
They're already doing anyway. So
yeah, so I don't. These guys are professionals.
Yeah,
if there's something that can sort of up their level of play, mm-hmm. and they're fine with taking whatever risk is involved with it, I don't think it's really up to anyone else to tell them they can't do it.
Yeah, I think the issue is the ignorance of people who watch sports. Yeah. They think there's only a few bad apples in there who are taking the stuff. Yeah. And then they climb to the top based on the drugs that they're taking, not the skill or the hard work that they put into learning their sport and to get to the very top. Yeah. The problem with that is the people who think that are wrong.
Yeah, because you grab Joe Schmo off the street and let him take the same stuff, and he's still not getting into the NBA, the NFL.
Nope, he's not going to hit 70 home runs. He's not going to do any of that shit. Not to mention, 90% of professional athletes are enhanced in some way. Yeah. Depending on whether it's HGH or steroids or something. Everyone's taking something. They have a team of people helping them pass the tests that they get. Mm-hmm. The only tests that are reliable are Olympic tests, and people beat Olympic tests. You can't Olympic test NFL players because it just simply costs too much, and the NFL doesn't want to spend that money. So
even legal drugs, supplements that people can just go to GNC and buy. Yeah, it's like science fiction to someone playing sports in 1930. Right. If you would have given those athletes, who knows what their performance would have been like. Right. So, I don't think that it does any good.
The guy
to sit here and,
the guy had like a double neck fusion.
yeah,
Where they fuse your fucking vertebrae together. Not only is his career in jeopardy, his life.
yeah.
I mean, you need those nerves to grow back so that you can move your arms and not have numbness and stuff. If he used HGH to try to regrow some of that, some of that nerve tissue, then I don't fault him for it. I mean, I remember this discussion happening when Kobe Bryant first started having knee problems. He was
Right.
going to Germany and getting that platelet therapy stuff.
Yeah.
And they were talking about whether that's, whether that should be legal or if that's performance enhancing. And I didn't care then and I don't care now. Do what you can to win within reason, and people need to grow up and realize what's going on. There's not natural 360-pound people running 4.740s just because they work hard.
Well, I think these purists out there are a bunch of pinheads. They say that you're hurting the sanctity of the game if you let people do steroids or HGH or...
Too late.
Yeah, the sanctity is probably a myth to begin with.
Yep.
Because if you want to... Even if you take away any of these substances that these athletes have done over the years, if you go back to the beginning of these games and followed the guys around in their daily lives, a lot of them were probably shitheads,
Yeah.
engaging in some pretty questionable, morally repugnant behavior, I would
Yep.
assume.
So where do you draw the line? What's the glory days that you want to get back to? I mean...
Well, it's like when people talk about the 50s being so great. And it's like, wish we could go back to the good old days.
Yeah.
What you really mean is that...
You want segregated bathrooms, is what you're saying
And you
me.
You don't want your wife to be able to leave the house without you. And she's
Or drive a
expected to
car.
stay in the kitchen and make
Yeah.
you food and tend to you and all that kind of stuff. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
And I think
Accept progress, grow up, people do what they can to hang on to what they have, if you're a competitive person, if you're the best, I wouldn't be surprised to find out things about Michael Jordan down the line. He
Yeah.
took this and that to remain the best. When you're that competitive and you're in a sea of dudes who are just as competitive, just as talented,
Yeah.
what do you do to rise above? You
well,
do
time's
whatever
always
you can.
working against you.
Yeah.
You're always getting older,
Yeah.
and you want to do what you can to hold on to that talent and to continue playing at that level, especially if you make it to the pro level.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a feeling there that people can't even really relate to unless you've been in that position where, anyone else who has a career, even if you really like your job, if you work at like a printing press or, you're a salesman or something, and you become really good at it, you can continue doing that for basically as long as your mental faculties are there.
Right,
But if you get really good and you put your life into sports and time just happens to come knocking at a certain point, and then you find out, oh, I can take this and it's going to allow me to continue doing what I love a little bit longer. Fuck you if you want to take that away from people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a difficult balance to find because what we're talking about, it's the rebuttal would be, well, do you just let them all take as much drugs as they want? Is there a cap on how many drugs they can take?
No, I would say just let them become as freakazoid as they want.
Yeah.
And because it's not going to necessarily make you play better.
Yeah.
Like you said,
taking more steroids doesn't make you... Yeah, there's a cap on how much your body can achieve.
And it depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Do you want to become a great baseball player? Well, at a certain point, if you can't swing your bat because you're so bulky...
If you're Ronnie Coleman trying to hit a baseball,
Yeah. And I don't think steroids are going to help you accurately swing a bat at a slider that's coming at you at 90 miles an hour.
They might give you a tiny bit of an edge, but really you still have to hit the ball.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, get over it.
I'm all for letting them do what they want to.
Steroids and HGH are already in football. Every single player is taking them. Mm-hmm. They beat the test because the tests are shitty. Get over it. You don't stop watching football because you know that.
Yeah.
I think it's this Santa Claus culture that we have where we just want to walk around believing, every Joe Schmo who's got a nice job and is successful did so with just the elbow grease and the hard work, but there's so much more that goes into it that people aren't willing to accept yet. So grow the fuck up. That's my opinion. Peyton Manning's a good player. As far as I know, he's a good person, it seems like, so I just hope this doesn't turn into some kind of, bullshit that makes, tears down his reputation and stuff. 'Cause,
I hope not.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. How about we do one more here before we move on? That's what I was looking at.
Thank you.
Disneyland, California theme park
San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego. That's what I was trying to. San Diego.
Sorry, folks.
Man distracted by electronic device dies from fall at Sunset Cliffs, officials say.
A man's dead.
Yeah, that's not funny. Maybe. I don't know anything about this guy, so it might be better that he's gone, but I don't know. I'm going to assume...
If it was M. Bison, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
Or if it was Donald Trump.
Yeah.
If you read that Donald Trump fell off a cliff while tweeting hashtag no more Muslims, then we'd call that a win. But everyday man distracted by an electronic device falls off a cliff and dies.
Okay, I'm
leaning a Ron Swanson reaction to this, where it's, it's basically a metaphor for what's happening to us.
Yeah.
Glued in our cell phones and unaware of our surroundings. We're standing next to a cliff, but we can't get the right Instagram filter, and then, whoa, lost my footing taking a selfie at the edge of a cliff, and boom, I'm dead. So... whose fault is that? Are we gonna sue is his lawyer, is his family, are the survivors of his family gonna sue Verizon or something, or Instagram for being too distracting? Is that what this is gonna turn into?
I don't know. I'm trying to get creative here with the wording so that we can kind of look at the story from a different possible angle.
Okay.
So maybe he Maybe he wasn't using a device himself, but there was one close by, and it distracted him.
Some guy 10 feet away from him was watching porn on his cell phone. He caught a glimpse of a nice pair of tits. Took a little tumble. Whoa! Whoa! That's a nice... tumbles down.
What if he saw an electronic device that he'd never seen before that someone left on the ground, like a prototype?
An iPhone 7. He saw it laying there.
Are those available?
No.
No? Okay, so that's what I was saying, like maybe a prototype.
I think the newest one's the 6S.
Okay. I'm not an iPhone guy, I have an Android, so I don't know. Yeah. You're an iPhone guy.
I have an iPhone. I don't like it.
You don't. So you don't like to be referred to as an iPhone guy.
No.
I
switched to iPhone from Android when my contract was up, and it's my first iPhone I've ever had, and I'm unsatisfied with it.
So you're coming back to Android.
I will make the jump right back the next time my contract is up. So.
Bob, not an iPhone guy, just has an iPhone.
I did like the ease of use at first, but then the customization options are abysmal, so I can't set my alarm to be a song without going through iTunes and shit. I mean, it's just so restrictive. It's like It's like the leapfrog version of a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it treats you like a child, in my opinion. I like the freedom of Android. Lets you do a lot more without restrictions, so...
Well, let's do one more. Let's do one more trending topic here. I want to talk about this. Mall St. Matthews.
Okay.
Kentucky Mall closes early after several teen disturbances on property, officials say.
This is trending on Facebook.
A Kentucky mall closes early after several teen disturbances on property, officials say. Again, look at this. Hold on, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10 trending topics on Facebook
the
right
top
now.
10. It's your David Letterman top 10.
And one of them is that a mall in Kentucky closed early
after several teen disturbances on the property. And that's trending on Facebook. So, I don't know if the headline on Facebook is doing the story an injustice by not going... by being too vague.
I hope so.
Because if it said, Kentucky Mall closes early after several teens pelt, passersby with rocks in the face, that would be
or
something
like
newsworthy.
after teen orgy.
Yeah.
Something that they went to the food court.
Group teen suicide in public.
Uh-huh.
But it just says disturbances. That's too vague for me. Are they lighting bags of poop and leaving them in front of
Maybe they were
Annie
shitting.
Ann's pretzels?
Maybe they were shitting across the mall.
Just dropping trow and taking a shit in Spencer's Gifts.
They got like a group of 15 and they each took like a different store, a different place in the mall, and then they had a designated time when the alarm went off.
Right, because the way it's worded, it says closes early after several teen disturbances.
Yeah.
So it's not one giant organized thing. It's like one kid causes a disturbance, he's kicked out, escorted off. Then another teen causes a disturbance. Or it could be several different groups of teens causing separate disturbances. Separate shittings.
Separate shittings. At 4:45, our alarm's going to go off and we're all going to drop our pants and take a shit.
Yeah.
Wherever we are.
Or, hey, Joe, you are going to shit at 3. Mm-hmm. And then at 3:15, Tim is going to shit in a separate location.
Maybe when security's been called to the first location.
That opens up the...
Then it's like our...
Ocean's 11 style.
Yeah.
Distracts the security and opens up the possibility for another shitting.
What would really be cool is if the first shitting takes place at like 3. Mm-hmm. So security goes over there. I'm guessing they would probably send everyone.
Yeah, because you don't often have teens shitting on the floor of a mall.
Yeah, and they'd probably be at, say, Hot Topic. All of the security is there investigating.
Is the shit inside the store or outside the store?
I was thinking inside.
Inside, so yeah.
Maybe in the first would be easiest to just go into the dressing room
and just poop in there.
Take a shit in the dressing room and then.
How would anyone know it's in there? They'd have to smell the stink.
No, you could have a plant. Who, after the shitter leaves, the plant goes to try on some clothes, and then they're like, oh my God.
There's a pile of human shit in here.
And then, of course, they come over, the associate would go in and see it, and then they call security. Security rushes in, and then the plant would alert the next shitter, all right, it's time.
Via a Nextel. Cellular device.
Or whatever. Beep, beep. Yeah. And so then they take a shit.
The eagle has landed.
Right. And then it's time for them to shit.
Yeah.
But you could up it by having 2 shitters lined up for the next one.
Okay.
And they
so
shit
then
at the
you
same
really
time.
But in different places.
Yeah.
So one at Brookstone.
And then one at maybe H&M.
Okay.
And so then security has to split off.
Then they're divided.
Yeah.
Not to mention the first shit is still being cleaned up by maintenance or custodial staff or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're still dealing with... and now the stench has filled the entire store at Hot
But you
Topic.
can see where I'm going with this.
Right.
Is that the next two alert 2 more, and then you're up to 4 shitters.
Yeah.
And once that happens,
yeah.
I mean, you could really go on and on.
Yeah.
Until they had to close the entire mall because they just
Every
can't.
store would have a shit in it.
Yeah.
In some capacity at some point.
Yeah.
Do you think at any point the security would call the police?
Yes.
Okay, how many shits do you think you get away with before the cops are called in?
I think you would get away with the first one.
First one is an isolated incident, so no need to
Once
involve
they
law
went to
enforcement.
2, there would be 3 total shits.
Yeah.
Then
Then
you get the call
grumblings
for
of
2.
Yeah.
And then once it hit, all right, 4 stores just got shit in.
Okay.
Something's going on. We've got to call the cops.
Call the National Guard.
Because you would have been up to 7 total shits at that point.
Right, that's a lot of poop.
Yeah. And you would probably be projecting in your mind at that point.
Now you're understanding the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans recognize patterns pretty easily.
Yeah.
I think even if you're mall security, you probably would have the wherewithal to see that there's an evil plan afoot.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what happened, and that's why it's trending.
I'm going to say that's definitely what happened.
Okay.
So
we'll go with that. So
lots
that's
of shittings happening in a Kentucky mall.
Mall St. Matthews.
And they had to close early because they had to clean up the shit, and it was a biohazard. So
what is St. Matthew? You're a Catholic guy. Is that better than being called an iPhone guy?
Well, the thing I tell people about being Catholic now is that the way I understand it, most Catholics are closet atheists.
Yeah.
So, I'm just a Catholic who happens to be out of the closet about his atheism. So,
Okay.
I haven't fully shunned my Catholic roots, but I don't believe in any of it. So,
Right.
the only reason for me to hold on to it is because I was born Catholic, and I can harken back to my first communion and things like that, and remember being in church and all the stained glass windows and the body and blood of Christ that they think is real.
Beautiful churches, though.
Yeah, very
much
beautiful
better
churches.
Than the churches that I went to when I was a kid. And I didn't go often, but when I did, I remember going to a few Catholic weddings and such. But I always found the Catholic Church to be much more impressive, and it seemed like they took things a little more seriously.
Well, some people would say that the Catholic Church, that's where they went wrong, is they went a little too lavish and a little too... That's why you get the humble, like, barn churches for the non-denominational Christians where it's just like a wooden cross and...
Well, I feel like you have to go to one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
Because what I hate is, like...
the tweeners.
The tweener kind of half shitty church.
They have one stained glass window, but it's just really poorly done.
But they still have
oddly placed,
and they've got like they're trying to incorporate the cool factors like the mega churches. So they have a shitty little band that comes in and plays shitty little Christian contemporary songs as people are filing in, as they're leaving, and they've got their shitty little projector that they put the words up on for people to sing the hymns because they can't pick up the books and read it anymore.
Yeah. I've only been to a non-denominational, like when I was Catholic. I mean, I didn't go to any other church. I went one time with my aunt and cousins, and at their church, the Body and Blood. Really, in Catholicism, there's a thing called transubstantiation, which is the belief that when the priest blesses the wine and the wafers, that they actually become the body and blood of Christ. For real.
Yeah.
That is a thing. You believe that this guy waves his hands over it and it literally becomes that shit. Whereas in most Christian churches, it's symbolic.
So what happens when you're looking at it and it doesn't turn into...
Well, you start to question things at a young age, and that's why Catholics end up in the boat that they're in by the time they're adults, because it's hard to take seriously. Even as a 7-year-old, you're like, well,
but that's
this
not
is
even
a cracker.
But yeah, it's not. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not even a good magic trick.
No.
It'd be like if a magician says, "No."
If it turned into chicken skin or something,
Yeah, but it doesn't turn into anything.
No, it doesn't change at all. He doesn't drop like a little blood packet into the wine or something.
Yeah. Or if, like, again, if a magician had like a little statue of a bird, it's like, no, I'm going to wave my wand over this and it's going to come to life and fly away. And then he did it, and it
didn't change, but you were still expected to believe that it was flying away.
Yeah,
that's religion,
say, wow.
man.
Wow,
it's
what
a lazy ass magic trick. I said I was born Catholic, but yeah.
So what about St. Matthew? Do you know?
I have no idea.
You didn't
the
do
ones I'm sure I learned about him at one point, but the one saint that has stuck with me, it's because my brother had it in his car. There's a little clip on my what's it called? It's like the
sun visor.
Sun visor, yeah. On my visor, it's Saint Christopher, which is my brother's name, but it's a little fake bronze thing that says, "Behold Saint Christopher and go your way in safety." So he's the patron saint of travel.
Okay.
So there's a saint for everything, really.
I kind of think that's cool. I like that part.
They're like kind of like superheroes.
Yeah.
Comic book characters.
I can get into that.
Yeah, not too bad. The current pope isn't that big of a dick. He's okay in a lot of respects. A lot of progressive opinions, but he won't budge on the gay marriage thing, so yeah. I still take issue with the Catholic Church on that. We gotta get that changed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
Saint Matthew, don't know
Saint Matthew, and the
I should have made something up. I should have
is closed because they were shitting everywhere.
The patron saint of defecation. Yeah, poo poo. That's what we like on this show. Didn't we have a whole segment about shitting in a box? Chocolate flavored shit. Chocolate scented. It started chocolate scented and then became chocolate flavored. Another poop segment for y'all.
What else? We were going to talk about Star Wars tonight, but no one's here.
Yeah.
So that's no good.
We liked the movie and we will see it again. And we issued a challenge to all other bands to try to see it more times than us collectively.
Before it leaves theaters.
Yeah.
So, right now...
Does that count second run theaters like Danbury and stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I plan on seeing it at the little whatever it's called, Colony Square Cinemas up in Lebanon.
That's what I'm going to do as well.
Because I've seen it in IMAX 3D twice now, so I kind of want to see it on a more conventional screen and enjoy it that way.
It might be fun to have the sort of old school flavor to it when you're watching it. Get the old.
What would be great is to see it. I don't know if they use film there. Do any theaters use film anymore? Like legit?
I don't know.
Because I remember very vividly seeing movies when I was, in the late single digit, 7, 9.
Yeah.
I remember during Lion King, like the little film grains, seeing all that stuff on the screen, and you don't get that anymore. And that would be a real trip to see a nice Star Wars movie on real film, because I know it was shot on 35mm film rather than the digital formats that we're seeing.
They might not have upgraded to digial over there. I don't know.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Be something to investigate.
I've only seen a couple movies over there. I remember we went and saw kind of a cruddy horror movie. I forget what it was called.
Oh,
like
was
The
it-
Happening or something. Not The
Box.
Happening.
Was it The Box? Is that what it was called, or no? No, the
It had the guy who played the comedian in it.
yeah, The
in
Box was a Cameron Diaz movie, but this movie had a box in it. That's what I'm thinking of. That name.
It was like The Something-ing. It had an ing, but it wasn't The Happening, and it wasn't...
Was it The Conjuring?
The Conjuring, I think that was it. The main guy was the guy who played the comedian in the movie of Watchmen.
And it had Modest Yahoo in it.
In
as
Modest
well.
Yahoo, yep. He was the next person I was going to mention. I believe it was The Conjuring.
I feel
don't
like
know.
The Conjuring had another famous actress in it, and it's a different movie. Because I thought that guy was like the big star in that movie.
He was, yeah.
And The Conjuring had... What else was she in? I can picture her face.
What was the movie with the doll? And then the doll got its own spin-off movie. Shit. I think I saw that at the Colony Square theaters too.
Was that
It had the guy who played Night Owl in it. So all these discarded Watchmen had Night Owl too in that one.
Yeah. Was
You
that
know
The
who I'm talking
Conjuring?
about. That might have been The Conjuring. Because he wasn't the main character. He was like the husband of the main character.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it had like the Christian message at the very end.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the sequel was Annabelle.
Yes, because they had that room full of... They were like two paranormal investigator type people. And
Yeah.
they teamed up and they were super religious and just kind of ruined the movie. Then there's that scene, the woman's possessed and she's chasing around underneath the floorboards of the house and her face is all distorted and... Yeah.
I think that was The Conjuring.
Okay. Well, the one with the fucking comedian was something else, but I remember seeing that at Colony Square, and
God damn it, I can't remember.
that was a bad movie too. They
All
were
right, well,
both
this
pretty bad.
has been the worst movie segment you've ever listened to in your life.
Can't remember what the fuck anything's called.
What was that one?
We were gonna talk about Star Wars, but instead we bored you.
Let us ramble through a bunch of movies we can't remember the names of.
Well, that's a commentary on how shitty the horror genre is right now. But I remember you guys saying, there's been good horror movies, but
Yeah.
it's...
I've got one on tap I still need to watch, The Final Girls. I'm really still excited to watch that. I just haven't had a chance to with all the holiday rush and bustle and...
Yeah.
Oh,
We've all seen Star Wars a bunch of times. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
and if you're in another band and you think your band can see it more than us, then you can suck it because it's not going to happen. So that's our challenge. And
There's some other band somewhere who's already seen it way more times, but they're just not keeping track, and they don't know of the contest at all.
they lose because they won't be able to prove it. They'll have thrown away all their ticket stubs, and they're not taking pictures when they go to the cinema.
Yeah,
So
sons of bitches.
comics, I don't have any comic news for you because I still have a pile of comics I've not read, and it might be that way for as long as this show's on. I hope not. I'd like to get around to it at some point.
Well, what if we jump right into video games then? Because I know I have stuff to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about video games.
Okay. Recently, I got back into PC gaming. I was informed by my girlfriend's brother that there was a Star Wars bundle on Steam that was like 77% off. So it ended up totaling about $21 for approximately 10 to 12 games a couple of which I grew up with and, mean a lot to me, and a couple of which I've always wanted to go back and play. So the Dark Forces series is big part of that bundle. It has all the games and the expansion for the second game. And then it includes the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, made by BioWare of Mass Effect fame and Dragon Age and everything.
Both very famous RPGs.
Yes. Two of my most favorite RPGs of all time, to the point where I was telling Nick earlier that when BioWare made Mass Effect, instead of making Knights of the Old Republic 3, I was supremely butthurt, and I refused to play Mass Effect until at least a couple years after it came out. But that kind of gave me the advantage, because once I'd played it, Mass Effect 2 was right on the way. So I'm glad I kind of didn't have to wait too long for the next game to come out. And then we all know the story. Mass Effect 2 to 3 was only like a year wait, or a year and a half or something. So that whole phase was kind of a continuous long run of being obsessed with Mass Effect. So thank you, BioWare, for making Mass Effect, but I'd love to see them return to the Star Wars universe with something that, I think the Knights of the Old Republic games could still be considered canon, because they take place 1,000 years before the first movie, so they don't really fuck with the timeline at all. They have nothing to do with the films. They're kind of the opposite of the extended universe. They're so far removed that they don't have any bearing on the events of anything later in the universe. So what I'm saying is, I hope that they remain canon, and I hope BioWare makes a third Knights game. Thank you.
All right. Bob was talking about PC gaming, and I just got a brand new PC for Christmas. Very stout behemoth of a machine here, and it's my first desktop PC that I've had new since, I believe, 2002 was the last time that I actually got a brand new desktop PC, and that was an Alienware back then that I had a horrible time with.
Yeah.
Horrible time. It never worked correctly. I sent it back to them twice, and we could never get it right for some reason.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was this big build up, I wanted an Alienware for, as long as I had...
I remember that name just having a mystique about it. Like, if you get an Alienware, it's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
You're the cock of the walk in the PC world.
Yeah.
But to hear that you got a dud...
Yeah, it was a disaster. And then I ended up just giving it to someone. I gave it to my friend Brett, actually. Because he didn't have a PC, and I had got a new laptop back in 2009 that has finally kind of called it a day. And
so it's I was gonna ask you if your PC was still gonna be in rotation around the house at all.
My laptop will only... The screen will only come off. It'll only come on if it's bent at that angle that you see right now. So it's at like whatever 30-degree angle all the time, and I have to...
Electronics are so fucking weird sometimes when they go bad.
For the last month, I've been like bending down, hunched over to just use the computer, so it's been awful. Yeah. I'm really glad to have this new machine. I'd like to thank my wife for making this happen, and also thank Butch for building it for me, because it is a custom PC. It was built custom just for me, and no one else will have one just like this.
Nope. It's like a thumbprint. It's completely unique to you.
I can jump back into PC gaming, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got like a throne room.
Yeah.
And because you guys can't see this, I'm going to describe the PC to you. It's a large... And when I say large, I mean take your average PC tower and multiply it by about 4. Seriously.
I would maybe 2.5.
2.5.
No,
I'm gonna say 3 at least.
Maybe. Well, yeah, with technology getting more compact, I'm thinking
Yeah.
about my old case, and I guess that was kind of big.
Yeah.
So yeah, for your average Dell that you're gonna get at like
Right.
Walmart,
or if you're on a
Best Buy,
computer at work and you have a tower next to your little monitor, this is about 3 to 4 times bigger than that.
or if you have the kind that just sit on the desk where like the monitor is on top of it.
I hate those things.
Yeah. If that's the kind of computer you have, it's probably like 8 of those.
It looks like a home appliance of some kind.
Yeah.
But it's very sleek. It has a white finish, shiny plastic white finish with black accents. Mm-hmm. So it looks like it was made for the First Order, which is the new incarnation of the Empire in the new Star Wars trilogy. So
that's not a spoiler.
not a spoiler. People know that. You should know that.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're a dick. Dickhead.
But as far as games go, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play this past week. Since we talked last, I'm still playing Metal Gear Solid 5.
Okay.
And I probably will be for as long as the show goes on as well. So
Yeah, I'm feeling remorseful actually right now because I'm talking all this Star Wars stuff and I just picked up this huge Star Wars bundle and I'm taking a trip down memory lane with all these games that I grew up with and I'm kind of visiting games that I never got to have a chance with because I wasn't a PC gamer when I was young and some of these games only came out on PC or PlayStation or something like that I didn't have because I was a Nintendo guy. But I have stalled out on Fallout 4 because of that.
So it's Stall Out 4.
Since I saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens in theaters, I've not played Fallout.
Wow.
Because the Star Wars bug has bitten me so hard that I feel like I can't jump to another extensive universe like that without getting things muddled up in my brain. I'm just such on a Star Wars kick.
Oh,
I have to kind of work it out of my system before I go back to Fallout 4.
you know what? I have to correct myself. I have played another game besides Metal Gear recently.
Okay.
I played a little bit of Super Mario 3D World recently
Okay.
on the Wii U, which I had not touched in quite a while. I got to the final castle, but in this game you have to collect a certain number of stars to unlock certain castles before you can go inside of them. And
sort
I
of
think
like Mario 64.
Yeah. So I had like 114 stars and I needed 130.
Okay.
And once I got to that point, I had kind of stopped and left it sitting for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I decided recently to go back and try and make that 130 happen.
Okay.
And I did that. So got through that castle and realized that it actually takes you to another world after that.
Wow.
Like a bonus world. So it was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Because I thought the game was done, and it's not.
Good.
So I hope I didn't spoil anything for you if you didn't if you didn't get that out there. If I just made you mad because you were playing through Super Mario 3 what was it?
Super Mario 3D World.
3D World, yeah, on the Wii U, not 3D Land. That's on the 3DS.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a fun game, as most Mario games are.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would imagine. I've played. I think I played a little bit when you first got your Wii U, but
It's great 4-player chaos.
Yeah.
When you can get a group of people together. A lot of fun. A lot of, what the fuck are you doing? And people jumping on your head and knocking you into holes. And,
yeah. I remember it being very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Which Mario games should be, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want them to get too easy.
Yeah. Except I know they give you that white Tanuki suit.
Yeah.
When you die too many times in a row, and that's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Still does not stop you from falling into a chasm or
yes.
or
So
lava
you
or
can
something
still
like that.
die.
Yeah, you can still die. Oh, so that's games right now. That's about all I know games-wise. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to... I'll probably go with that Steam bundle that you were talking about for Star Wars. And,
Right. Trying to convince Nick that we need to get in on some Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast multiplayer and hack some people up with lightsabers, because as far to my knowledge, there's no other multiplayer Star Wars experience where it's just all heroes versus each other. Mm-hmm. Just a bunch of dudes with lightsabers. Battlefront kind of has it a little bit in certain game modes, but there's no real just run up and hack the shit out of somebody and then respawn as a Jedi again, and it's just endless fun.
And I'm also, I have to admit, I'm looking forward to just jumping back into some Counter-Strike, because I've missed playing that for quite a while. So that'll be fun.
Counter-Strike's great.
The old standby.
Yep.
And did you ever play Day of Defeat? Did we ever do any of that?
Day of Defeat?
World War II. It plays a lot like Counter-Strike, but World War II setting.
I don't think so. Unless we played it one time and it just completely dripped out of my brain.
That's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a recommendation, just a little one-off fun multiplayer online shooter, why not go and give Day of Defeat and Counter-Strike a shot?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh boy, what else? Wrestling. I've not watched Raw from this week. They had the Slammy Awards. I know that.
Yeah, I did. I watched the pay-per-view finally.
Mm-hmm.
It was TLC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved... I kind of liked the way it ended. And then the follow-up Raw, where Roman became champion, was also pretty good. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of bringing it back. They're giving Roman this sort of rebellious... They're trying to make him a little bit Stone Cold-ish. Yeah. Which is... It's nice to see an aggressive side of him where he's not just playing a superhero and he actually, flies off the handle and does things he shouldn't do, because that humanizes his character a little bit more. So I like what they're doing with that character. I think he needs some more dimensions to him for people to get behind him, and I think he really is winning over the crowds just a little bit more.
He is. I just wish that they would stop spoon-feeding him like stupid, cheesy one-liners that he does not pull off. No. I don't think it suits his character well at all. No. I think they want him to be The Rock, and he's Roman Reigns. Yeah, he's a different person.
He just doesn't have that charisma where he can make anything sound cool. He needs to be a certain type of... He needs to just be himself, basically. He's not a comedian. No. His timing with the shit that he lays down is just not good enough to land with the audience. So he needs to speak through his physicality and his actions, and
I think that could work. I think that during TLC at the end, right before he attacked Triple H, he had this look on his face.
Yeah,
and I remember
he looked like a psycho. Yeah, he looked great.
And I thought to myself, that should be the Roman Reigns that they expand upon and push him more and more into that role and see what grows from there, instead of like
to where he's still the hero, but he has a dark side. Yeah, he can't always be this. Whenever he comes out, it just I just get this feeling that it's like an action figure walking down to the ring. It's not a human being. It's like a
and
robot.
Ditch the Shield gear.
Yeah,
and get rid of the Shield music. Yeah, because he's the only one from the Shield who's still doing exactly what he did when he was in the Shield.
Right, and the Shield was a heel group.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna reinvent yourself as a babyface superhero, you would have thought that shit would have changed a long time ago, but yeah, it's weird how they're clinging to that gimmick for him. I don't know if they're scared that something else might, ruin his character or something, but, his character is so blah. There's not really much you could do to make it any worse. I mean, it just is non-existent. So seeing that emotion from him where he was so pissed off.
Just beating the shit out of Triple H with a steel chair.
Yeah, that's what you want to see.
I was yelling out loud.
Yeah.
And
it was sort of like finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like in Revenge of the Sith when you finally start seeing some action out of the prequels and you're like, fuck yeah, finally some darkness, some grittiness from this shit.
My favorite Kurt Russell quote from Death Proof. Mm-hmm. Jesus fucking Christ, it's about time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you haven't seen Death Proof, watch it.
Yeah.
Stuntman Mike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Nobody will ever have, unless they do it, but nobody will have the experience that I had seeing Grindhouse. Mm-hmm. I saw Grindhouse at a fucking drive-in.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
It's just one of the greatest movie-going experiences ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome.
With all the trailers in between and,
That was perfect.
Yeah. You're never gonna be able to remake something that perfect. And because Grindhouse wasn't that big of a financial success, unfortunately, we probably won't ever see another movie like it. So,
well, before we wrap up here, we forgot that we don't know shit.
Oh, uh-oh. Okay.
So,
maybe a shortened version.
Yeah, a shortened version.
We're pushing past 1 a.m. now, people, so...
Maybe give me a topic real quick.
Okay. Open heart surgery.
Okay.
News. Heart surgery news.
All right.
What we're doing right now, guys, is we're looking for news about open heart surgery. Hey, John Madden recovering from open heart surgery.
All right.
We don't know
shit. That's a new story.
Yeah, December 10th, 2015.
Recovering from open heart surgery. Well, John Madden, of course, this is not his first open heart surgery.
No. He's had several.
Yeah, and...
he's coming up on a world record, as far as I know.
Yeah. He's... Well, all the years of broadcasting just wore him down.
Yeah. And we have to be careful about that on the podcast, too, because the more you speak, the more stress it puts on your heart.
Yeah.
And the more at risk you are for having to have that procedure done.
Well, your vocal cords are connected to your heart directly, so every time you talk, it's pulling your heart, and that will lead to palpitations and fluttering and heart murmurs. So if you've ever experienced any of those things, it's probably because you're talking too much.
Yeah, and you got to ease back a little bit, and if you've ever talked for a lengthy period of time and you feel fatigued and like you need to lay down, chances are your heart's under a lot of strain.
And you might be having a heart attack. So, public speakers, I don't know if... This is something a lot of people don't realize
rarely
about
live
speaking,
past 50.
Or the ones that do have a trick, is that they will record their lectures, their dissertations, prior to the event, but they'll chunk it up. So they'll record 5 minutes of their talk, and then they'll go and sit quietly for an hour, and then they'll come back, and after they've rested, they'll record another 5 minutes. And you do this as long as you need to before your show.
And then during the live event, you just lip sync to the audio track.
Because if you're not using your voice, then it's not pulling on your heart, and you don't get that heart movement that leads to heart attacks and all sorts of
arrhythmias
and different things that you don't want to deal with as a person. You need your heart to stay healthy, and one thing that you can do is choose your words carefully.
Yeah, that's why quiet, more reserved people live the longest, and you get these stories about 110-year-old women, and they fabricate, well, I had a Miller High Life a day or something. It's almost always a fabrication. What the real reason is, they kept their mouths shut, and they picked their words wisely and delivered them only at the appropriate times. And even right now, I'm starting to feel faint.
Yeah, as I do after this show every week.
Mm-hmm. I have to take a very long nap.
Well, me being a vocalist, I
can't help.
I've already accepted that my time's ticking, and that as far as the members of this band go, that by at least 30, 40, maybe 50 years, you guys are going to outlive me because your instruments are not connected to your heart.
Yeah.
If your guitar was connected to your heart, and every time you strummed it,
put stress on
it, pulled on it.
The arteries and
it's the pulling.
Yeah.
It's in a spot, and your heart doesn't like to be pulled.
No.
So you ever hear people talk about tugging on the heartstrings?
Yeah.
It's because there really are strings connected to your vocal cords.
From your heart.
And when you cry, you're sobbing and projecting, and it's causing those strings to pull.
Right, and it's even worse on your heart, because when the louder, the harder you cry, the more pulling you're doing.
Yeah.
So you need to lay off of that crying. And when you cry, you can let the tears flow, but you really want to keep quiet during that. Try not to yell too much. Try not to sing too much. Try not to speak too much.
Yeah.
And make sure to take deep breaths every now and then, and
pause.
Yep.
Frequently when you're speaking to people. You can even when someone asks you a question, one way that you can preserve your voice is to take a minute or so before you get back with them, so that
or oftentimes I'll just have a memo pad in my front pocket of my shirt, and I'll just pull it out and write my answer down slide it across the table.
Idea. Good idea.
Just to conserve,
If you're going to cry, one thing that I've learned to do is if you hold your face in a neutral position and just pry your eyes open with the thumb and index finger of each hand, you can just allow the water to pour out of your eyes. Right. And it's a very dispassionate form of crying. You allow the function to get over with. The tears come out.
It's a lot quicker, a lot less drawn out.
Because crying, I don't know if you know this, but they've actually figured out over the course of several studies, the reason that you cry is because there's a reservoir of tears in the back of your head that they have to be released during the crying session.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and if you don't cry, they press against the frontal lobe of your brain, and that causes a whole slew of other problems outside of the heart attack issues.
Oddly enough, it can cause erratic speech patterns, and it can cause you
messing with your heart.
Right.
Yeah.
So this all ties in together. This is how the body's connected, and this is the basis of homeopathy. And
you have to release those tears, and don't speak too much. Be calm and collected, and you may live a long time.
And I hope you do.
Yeah. But then there's those of us like myself who are born with a congenital heart condition where the strings are a little bit shorter than the average person. So I have to speak in a lower register so that those strings stay nice and low. Because if you tighten them up too much, like you said, if I go into a higher... See, I can actually feel my heart raising into my chest when I raise the tone of my voice.
Well, that's when people...
Louder and higher.
Have you ever heard someone say my heart jumped up in my throat?
Right,
it's because
that literally...
When they go, ah!
Yeah.
You're pulling your heart up into your throat because your vocal cords tugging. And
when your Adam's apple moves up to make that higher pitched tone, it's yanking your heart right along with it.
So be careful of that. And as Bob said, if you feel faint or tired after talking for a long time, you might be having a heart attack.
Yes. And we want to mention that we wish John Madden a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
And hope he continues broadcasting, even though he retired several years ago. I'm told that he likes to sit in his kitchen and put a wooden spoon up to his mouth and do the Sunday Night Football broadcast from breakfast time. So,
but the doctors have actually told him that if he does that, it's fine. He should probably just kind of mouth the words instead of saying them out loud.
Right.
Which is what you could do too.
Yeah. It's convenient. It's easier on your heart, and those around you won't be disturbed by your speech, so they can listen to music or watch television without having any issues. So so that's stuff that we don't know shit about right there, and medical advice that you wouldn't get that anywhere else.
No.
And you wouldn't want to follow any of it either.
You wouldn't want to, but it is, what would you call that? Alternative
medicine.
It's an alternative to medicine.
Real medicine.
Yeah. If you're not looking for medicine...
I want an alternative.
I want an alternative to medicine.
Just do something else. Listen to us.
Yeah.
Or make up your own thing.
Yeah, because that could be an alternative.
Right. I feel like we're at a point. I don't know. I want to squeeze this in though.
Okay.
I feel like we're at a point where climate change deniers, right? Mm-hmm. You can't prove to them that the climate's changing because they can't see it. So, I'd imagine I could walk up to that person and say, my heart is attached to my vocal cords with strings. And they'd say, no, it isn't. And I'd say, prove it. Prove me wrong. You can't see it.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah.
Science, guys. Mm-hmm. It's a thing.
Yep. Well,
it's 70 degrees on December 27th in Ohio right now.
Yeah.
I love you guys. May not be around a lot longer. We'll see what happens in a couple decades, but this is not looking good.
I'm not going to bitch about it for right now.
No, it's pretty cool. I mean, I like the warm weather, but...
I've said this to a few people now, but anytime the weather's come up, I always have to bring up the fact that there are people out there who booked vacations over the summer to get away from Ohio and into weather that we're having right now somewhere else. You know, if they would have just stayed put, they could have had their 70-degree Christmas and paid no more money for it than just whatever they would have spent sitting around the house. And
whatever it costs to walk out your front door.
I guess we'll...
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you on the next show.
Yep.
We're going to do a little quick video show and get that posted. And I've got a few waiting in the wings that haven't been uploaded. And I think I'm just going to throw them all up at once in like a content regurgitation.
A content tornado.
Tornado, yeah. Content. What else could you call it?
Orgasm. It's like a big splooge all over your face of content.
Face and ears, because you're going to be listening to stuff.
Right.
But
An attack. All-out attack on all your senses.
And if you want to tell other people about us, make sure that you keep your words
Short and
sweet, and you get to the point.
Yeah.
So that you don't ruin your heart.
Yep.